Okay, so welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic, Lesson, Known Classics. Excuse me. This is episode number 2339, double shot number 2233. This one is a bit unique, this one. We are first talking about issues that were actually collected in an Ultimate Collection, which apparently this trade is difficult to get hands on it, because I've never found this trade in stores. My local library doesn't. The local library system doesn't have it. Not even the Poa has this trade. So I'm like, screw it, I'll review the individual issues. Mostly put, this is the Greg Rucka run for the book. Yes, Greg Rucka. Yes, the guy who wrote books like, he wrote Superman, wrote Batman. He did Elektra. Yes, he had a run for Elektra. Was last but say my favorite time. This one, but he actually had a run for Wolverine. Oh yeah, he also did Cyclops. Yes. Wolverine, this was the relaunch of the book. Now, I've discussed the last 3 issues of the previous line for the book by Daniel Way. That was collected, and I think it was in the complete Wolverine by Daniel Way complete collection. I think it was book 1. Yes, so the 3 issues came for these issues are discussed already. Here we're discussing these first 19 issues. The stuff after this, all covered. All covered. These 19 issues are all except the cover, so let's talk about these issues. Greg Rucka writes all 19 issues of this book. Derek Robinson does the interior artwork, but not the cover artwork. You might be asking, okay, who does this really good cover artwork? So for throughout this run, this is Asik Rubik who does pretty much this book. Now, they have this girl named Lucy Braddock who's killed in the opening issue, and Wolverine is suspected of murdering her, despite the fact there's no evidence of it. And there's also a group in this book called the Brotherhood of the New World. It's just this cult group who's only in this one story arc. Yeah, they're in issue 1, they skip issue 2, and then they're 3 through 5, and that's it for them. Oh, if you're curious though, there are 3 story arcs this run, and a standalone issue. The first story arc takes up the first 6 issues of this run. The Brotherhood one. And basically, it's just Wolverine on his own. He's just doing his own thing. And you might be curious though, does Wolverine at any point in any of these issues, in this 19 issue run, does Wolverine put on his costume? Yes, he does once. During the Coyote Crossing story arc. Yep, only one time. And in this first story arc, is there appearance by an X-Men character in this story arc? Yes. Nightcrawler appears in this book in the last issue of the story arc, issue 6. Because most of it's Wolverine on his own, dealing with this group throughout these 6 issues. And that's essentially what the story arc is. It's interesting at best. Then we have the second story arc, Coyote Crossing. Coyote Crossing is not 6 issues. It's actually the shortest story arc of this whole run. It is a whopping 5 issues. Starts with issue number 7. Yes, 7. Now, mostly put for Coyote Crossing. Now, we do have a new cover artist here, yes. Now, basically, Asik Rubik does the opening 6 issues. There's also something interesting that happens with Wolverine in this story. He gets shot and there's like blisters. Now, there's a cover here for issue 3. This was reused for the final, during the last story of basically volume 4 before it became, before we remembered back to Triple H numbering. With Wolverine coming to a place called Westfall. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and basically, Asik Rubik does the opening 2 issues for the cover artwork. Yeah. Now, you might be curious, though. Does he do the remaining issues of this arc? For issue number 3 is Derek Robinson himself. For issue 4, Derek Robinson. Issue 5 is Elson Rubik. Issue 6 is Elson Rubik. Yeah, it's also appearance by Nightcrawler shows up as is like, yeah, the weird thing about the cover for issue 6, it's basically a naked Nightcrawler in front of Wolverine. And yet, Nightcrawler is not naked in the issue. Nope, he just shows up because it's the end of the story arc. Yep. It's a weird story arc. Now, Coyote Crossing itself, this mostly deals with human trafficking. Yes, Wolverine fights human trafficking for 5 issues. And works with the FBI in this story arc too. And a lot of them just only appear, like, there's one here, Cassie Lathrop. She is here just for this run. And then she returns after this. Yes, she actually returns for Volume 4 for a couple issues. Pops up a few issues of volume of the renumbering, and that's it for her. Yeah, she kind of in the way starts dating Wolverine after this. Yeah, so that's mostly exactly what to do with this one. Human trafficking, and this also is wonderful-ish cover. Let me show issue 9, because the cover itself reminds me a lot of... Here we go. It's like basically the artist just basically they just really want to do homage to classic Blue posters. It's like, this one here, does this look a lot like Apocalypse Now? Yeah, that's a nod to Apocalypse Now. Yeah, and by the way, the story gets wrapped up issue 11, which is interesting to say the least. Why in the world does it get wrapped up with issue 11? I don't know. Also, if you look at the Wolverine Complete Collection, they use this very cover for the trade. And you're thinking, okay, now, here's the thing about these issues. Rick did issue number 6, but issue 7, it's a completely new cover artist. It's Leo Fernandez. Yes. He's also taking over as the interior artist of this book. From Derek Robinson. Issue 10, basically, it's still Leo Fritz. It is strange, though. Like, they have this Angela Reyes. Yeah, she's like kind of like the main villain of the story arc. Except Wolverine finally finds her in issue 9. She's pregnant. And Wolverine, it's like, she's begging Wolverine, hey, you want to kill me because I'm responsible for this human trafficking stuff? And he's like, you can't kill her because she's pregnant. And then, sure, like, it's like Wolverine just leaves, and it seems though she mysteriously goes in labor. And then Wolverine's with a baby, and the next issue, like, what happened here? Well, it's explained that Angela went into labor and Wolverine helped to deliver the baby. And he just gave the baby up for adoption. And of course, Angela herself dies with issue 11, and she's not seen again after this. Issue 12 is a weird issue. It's mostly just it is a dream issue. But it's the only standalone issue. 13. Oh boy. 13. Here's the thing about issue 13. 13 feels like traditional Wolverine content. It's like whatever we have for the first 11 issues, the real gritty stuff. Yeah, we're now back to classic Wolverine content here with the Return of the Native Stork, which is 7 issues. And we have Wolverine fight Sabretooth in this story arc. Awesome. Yep, and he finds a native in the wilderness in this story arc. This book is called Return of the Native. This actually is her debut. Well, let's see. Yeah, this is her debut. She's basically just like a female Wolverine. Oddly enough, she's only in this one story arc. Yeah, and here's the strange thing about this character, the Native. She's not named. She's just referred to as Native. She's just a wild woman, and then, like, not long after Wolverine meets her, they have sex. I'm not kidding. Wolverine has sex with this wild woman. Is it considered rape? No, she actually wanted it. So, from what I could tell from the book, it was consensual. So Wolverine has never actually raped any woman in the comics. Usually when he sleeps with a woman, usually it's pretty consensual. He always has consensual sex. I mean, that's the thing with Wolverine. He sleeps with many women in comics. Many women over the years. But never at one point did he ever force a woman to have sex with him. Nope. Never did. And I think that's a really cool trait for Wolverine. He's a complete gentleman when it comes to that regard. Yeah, he tries to woo a woman or to sleep with them. I'd say the only woman that was actually serious for him, that Wolverine could have been serious for anyways, was Belinda Gardner. Yeah, she was one who actually was, she was a biracial. I think she was half black, half Hispanic. She was actually the one woman Wolverine's had in the last decade. Of course, Jason who created her. She's the only woman who actually she's been serious with. Yeah, it's a very serious relationship. And this series, they kind of in the way, they also had this mercenary girl that appeared in the later issues of Jason, like before the book got relaunched, 2012. Of this mercenary group comprised of Wolverine's ex-girlfriends. And Belinda joins them, but she's still dating him. Like, they didn't officially broke up, they just stopped dating. And then during the story, in the case of this story arc in particular, the name gets mysteriously pregnant during the course of the story arc. Is Wolverine the father? Never confirmed. Because we also have it where Native goes back to this house the Wolverine doesn't really remember. And this is implied in the book, the way Greg Rucka sets it up. I think this is supposed to be the cabin where Sabretooth murdered Silver Fox. One of Wolverine's previous girlfriends over the years. And where Wolverine, every time he revisits his birthday, it's always the most dreadful day of the whole year for him. Because every time he has his birthday, he has to beat the crap out of Sabretooth every year for killing Silver Fox. On his birthday. That's his birth. That's what he does on his birthday. Beat the crap out of Sabretooth. Stab him. Sometimes they might kill each other. Who knows? But that's been sort of a tradition for Wolverine. Yeah. Go to this cabin in Canada. Sabretooth is there, and they fight each other there. But you're probably thinking, wait, what about those few years where Sabretooth is dead? They probably never fought at that point. Though they later retcon was actually a clone. Yep. The return of the Native Stork is also noteworthy for something quite interesting for Sabretooth at the time. That's with Wolverine. It is the first issue. Excuse me, here we go. It is the first issue of this whole run to be put under the Marvel Knights imprint. Yep. Yeah, it's the very first one. Now, we also got new cover artists this one. Yep, we have Derek Robertson, who returns to cover artist first time issue 6, and Jimmy Palmiotti. He probably inked the cover. Yep. Which is interesting, the fact he did it for the first issue. Yeah, he does. I think he does it for all 6 issues. Of course, we have Return to the Weapon X program, which Sabretooth leaves with basically with, well, also has 2 characters, Mr. Wilby and Mr. Wamby. Yeah, these are guys just basically were Weapon X. They don't do anything. But Native herself sadly dies at the end of this story arc. It's mostly about Wolverine fighting Weapon X once again. Which, that's great. I love it. It's an absolute just really amazing story arc. It's kind of like, now, I do have a couple of theories of why. I do have a theory of why in the world that they did this. Of course, also Nightcrawler shows up at the end of this story arc. Now, my theory of the reason why they did this particular story arc, it's like we had 2 okay story arcs to start with, and then like maybe now here's my theory of why Rucka did this. My theory is that the Wolverine book may have, now this way I guess people love Wolverine. I think the book may have been slipping the sales. So that's one theory. So that's the reason why he did this really good story arc. It's like go out with a bang after 2 okay story arcs. Like maybe he might have Wolverine do something similar he did in the first 2 story arcs. But my guess is that this is probably something that editorial probably had him do. Because that or probably because basically he was probably leaving the book at the time. So, and probably else because also we had the overnight stuff coming in, so we had to have this story happen. So, let's go with a bang. Let's have Wolverine fight Sabretooth once again. And that's it. That's pretty much the Greg Rucka run for this book. It's an amazing run. It's I would say the first, I'd say the artwork for this entire run is fantastic. I love the artwork. it just, for some people, my guess is probably the reason why he left. They probably didn't click with the style he was doing for the book for the first 11 issues. And probably also issue 12. But when it came to this story arc, this felt like a regular story. This sort of had the essence of what people loved about the Larry Hama of the 1990s. That's probably what happened here. And you might be curious, though, about Greg Rucka's time at Marvel. Like, what book did he do right after he wrapped up Wolverine? Well, after his year-long run the book, so what did he do as soon as he wrapped up his time Wolverine? Nothing. He left for a few years, went back to DC for a brief period of time. I mean, I'm looking at basically what he was working on this period of time, and it seems as though he was not Marvel very long the first time he was there. He was there maybe, I'd say about a couple years. Actually, so he came in, I'd say around 1999. And he left, I'd say around 2004. So he was gone for a few years, and then he comes back to do, I'd say he probably came back to do some issues of Daredevil with Brubaker. This happened in 2008, so he came back 4 years later to do that. Of course, he had his run he had for Punisher. That lasted for a couple years. And, of course, he did the Punisher Warzone. Did Cyclops, like, a year later. He did, like, the year following that, he did Shed Empire. And the last thing officially he did for Marvel, which was about 7 years ago, surprisingly, he did Captain America Sam Wilson. He probably did feel as though he had a good time at Marvel. That's my guess. But what did he do when he left Marvel? Well, he probably had an offer to go back to DC. And DC, oh boy. It's like basically when he left DC, which I think he came on DC, like, I think he made him work on Wonder Woman at the same time as he did that book, we did Wolverine. So my guess he probably left Wolverine because he had offered to do like stuff like, he did, of course, the OMAC project, Countdown Infinite Crisis, 52, Checkmate. That's probably what he was doing this period of time. He, of course, like, if you look at his stuff for DC, it is like, he did a lot of stuff for DC, a lot more he did stuff for Marvel. Maybe he probably left Marvel for a few years because he wanted to focus on his DC work, which, yeah, he put a lot of content. That certainly he did. That's probably the reason why he probably want to focus on Wonder Woman because he's probably had a couple years left of that book. So he just did that run for Wonder Woman. And then, like, as soon as he wrapped up that run, he did, like, a few miniseries, like a 52, Checkmate, The Question, Final Crisis Revelations, work on the Detective Comics run, the Companion of the Final Crisis stuff, some issues of Action Comics, and then he did, like, right after that, he did, like, after he wrapped up his time in Action Comics, he basically left DC for a few years. Probably so he could go back to Marvel briefly and come back, do, like, a one-shot, and then he did, like, another one-shot, come back to DC in 2019, then did a mini-series, and that's been pretty much it for him. The last book came out was, like, 3 years ago. I think mostly put, basically, when he came back to DC, he probably came back to DC just to work on some, Wonder Woman and other stuff, but yeah. Still good stuff here with this Wolverine. Wolverine. So, next up we have is Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, Volume 5 from Marvel Masterworks. This collection is 56, 66, 66, and number 3 for the book. Roger Stern is your regular writer for these issues, who writes until issue 56, 61. 61 he co-does it with Bill Mansell because Bill Mansell takes over as the writer of this book for a lot of the time of this book. Now, if you're curious, though, how long did Bill Mansell stay in this book for? Yeah, so this is probably his return to the book on a regular basis. He came back to the book for about 2 years because he had been in this book on and off. since like issue 6. He's done like before this. He did 1, 2. He did like 3 plus 4. That's like 7. And he came back for 1734. He basically came back for 17. He basically did on and off until about 89. Came back for 2 issues, and that was it for him. He didn't do the annual. The annual was co-done by with Roger Stern with Dan Croft and Marv Wolfman. The artwork is shockingly done by Jim Shooter, probably going back to his roots from the 60s. Doing artwork 56, 57, 59. The rest of the book is basically, we have 60 to 62, 64 seconds at Hannigan. John Byrne does 58. 60 is co-done by Greg Rucka with, Greg Rucka, who does issue 60 and 63. 65 is Bob Hall. The annual, oh boy, the annual had like, number 3 had Jim Sherman, Alan Weiss, Mary Severin, Rich Parker, Bob Bisky, and Keith Peller. What's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 artists did this freaking annual. And this book covers a time period of July of 1981, wraps up in May 1982. Now, issue 56, this actually is quite interesting because we have Spider-Man versus the Jack-O-Lantern. I believe this is the first time he fought him. I think so, because here's the strange thing about this Jack-O-Lantern. This is the original Jack-O-Lantern. I think he also gave Hobgoblin. I think it was Jason McIndoe. Yes. He first appeared in this issue of Machine Man. Yeah, he's kind of a Jack Kirby character-ish. So, yeah, most of this issue, we have Jack-O-Lantern here. We also have Nitro here. And we have Jack-O-Lantern in this issue. And I think he had just appeared. I think it was in Marvel Team Up. Because I think it was Marvel Team Up or Machine Man. So it was actually She-Hulk. Was it She-Hulk? No. Oh, so he's a crazy son of Mackinda, but he did the whole thing came from Machine Man first. That definitely is true. So basically, yeah, he had just appeared in Machine Man, just prior to this. It's weird, though, the fact that he appears in Machine Man first, which, by the way, he appeared in the last issue of that book, and then he appears in Spectral Spider-Man. Which is weird. Yeah, second appearance, and he fights Spider-Man. And next time seeing him is on to issue 254. Yep. And Jack-O-Lantern is just a cool character. The original one. Yeah, it's like he's just a really cool one. It's like, pops with this issue. He became a recurring character in Amazing Spider-Man for quite a while. And then he popped in a couple issues Web of Spider-Man. He turned to Web of Spider-Man. He appears sporadically over the years. Yeah, and then when he became Hobgoblin, it's like he was on for a good period of time. And then he gets killed off, and the Hobgoblin lives #1 by the real Hobgoblin, Roderick Kingsley. Yeah. Yeah, as for why in the world, maybe Tom DeFalco requested he appear in this book because, hey, why not fight the Jack-O-Lantern? Then in 57, where this is a book that's a bit of a follow-up to something also in, because Detective Spider-Man was, like I said, is always known for this, follow-up of someone else's book. While in the case of 56 was for Machine Man, this one, it's a brand corporation. Killer Strike had actually last appeared back in Marvel Team Up number 90. Yeah, just like a year prior to this, like about 2 years prior to this. Team with a guy called the Modeler Man, who's from the pages of Rampage and Hulk. Excuse me, also Jason Melvin, who last appeared in issue 285. Yeah, we deal with the Brand Corporation in these issues. Yeah, so the Brand Corporation is in these issues, in this book, just for one issue. Because right after this, it's back to Amazing Spider-Man for a few issues. Because it previously appeared on the pages of Iron Man. So it's a good standalone issue. I like the fact we have Killer Strike here. Killer Strike is technically not a Spider-Man villain, but he just had to show up here along with Will-O-Wisp. And of course, Jameson's like, oh yeah, we'll do right up on Brand Corporation. I want you to say for you, Jameson. We're holding on sincere reaction kind of investigating reporting. Yeah, and they're gone. And if the 8, you have Spider-Man find the Ringer. Yes, the Ringer. This is the original Ringer. Yeah, I believe this was the debut of the character. No. Ringer was Anthony Davis. Yeah, he became the Ringer. He was actually Ringer in issue Defenders. He got killed off in an issue of Thunderbolts. Yeah. There's also Greg Salinger, a.k.a. the Fool Killer. Yeah, for some reason, they have him appearing as a supporting character in Spectre Spider-Man. Yeah, I don't get why they have to have him appear here. He's only here for 3 issues, and he pops up in Amazing Spider-Man. And then right afterwards, we move over to the annual. Or the 3rd annual. This is sort of in a way... the annual itself was meant to be a conclusion to the manual stuff, but that got done years later. And this is considered to be the finale for all the manual content. Basically, this is where John Jameson is cured, but he's been in a mental institution. Yeah. Oh, by the way, his previous appearance was back in the pages of She-Hulk. Yes, She-Hulk. Where he was known as Star God. Yeah, Savage She-Hulk. And then right after this, he's next seen in the 18th annual of Amazing Spider-Man. Just 3 years later. And we go back to second Spider-Man, we deal with the Gibbon. Yes, the Gibbon. What do you think? When was the last time he showed up? Amazing Spider-Man 212 back in 1972. Yeah, so Rogers brought back a character I haven't seen in 9 years. And we also return to the Beetle, who was last seen in the previous issue. And before that last issue, he was last seen in issue of Iron Man 227, which I have discussed already. Yeah. And then basically in issue 60, you continue to find the Beetle on a double-sided issue, which I love the cover. It's Frank Miller's cover. It's really good. There's also got Chris Kelly, who's basically appearing in this issue. Yeah, he actually just appeared in the pages of Defenders. Actually, he first appeared in the pages of Defenders for a few issues. Popped him in Fantastic Four, Captain America. He's been a recurring character in this book since issue 46. And he's here. After 63, he's over Amazing Spider-Man. They pops up in the last issue of Power Man Fist, and that's it for him. There's also this guy who was Deborah Altman's boyfriend in this period of time, Biff Ricken. Yeah, he returned to this book after last appearing in issue 221 Amazing Spider-Man. He's here until 74, which I'll discuss that in our Comic Corner. In issue 61, he fights Carla Softon, Moonstone, who last appeared back in issue of Incredible Hulk. Yep, and her next appearance is in Avengers 222 as part of the Masters of Evil. Yep, it's like, okay, let's have Roger Bill Mansell. This is actually was the issue where Bill Mansell had to hand over the reins to Roger Stern, Bill Mansell, and of course, Roger's going to be the writer of this book for quite a while. And then the very next issue, he fights Goldbug, who last appeared in issue of Incredible Hulk. But the Goldbug comes back at this one. He comes back in issue of Solo Avengers, just 7 years later. Yeah. Issue 63 fights the Multiman. And you're thinking, what? The Multiman? Who last appeared back in Amazing Spider-Man 173. in 1977. This is basically his first appearance in 4 years. The next appearance was in Marvel, 1985. Well, number 4, obviously. But you're probably thinking, what was his next actual appearance? Right after this one issue. Because usually he just appeared for 2 issues. After this one, he appeared in Marvel Graphic Novel 46. Hooky, I think that's what it is. Oh, Parallel Lives. Yeah, but it was in a flashback. We could say his next action appearance was in Avengers Spotlight 26. Yeah, then he appeared in some issues with Spider-Man. So he appeared on and off over the years. Is he still appearing? Not really. His most recent appearance was in Web of Spider-Man, Gold Goblin #3. Oh yeah, Normie is actually his nephew. So, as for the last few issues of this book here, well, in issue number 64, we have debut of 2 very important characters Bill Manslow loved so much that he gave them a spin-off book. Let me show them off here. No. Okay, 64 is debut of classic and popular, but you could think of it as cult favorite Marvel characters, Cloak and Dagger. Yes, 64 is their debut appearance. Yep. And Bill Manslow made recurring characters in this very book before getting their own spin-off book. Yep. And it's so cool, the fact that he made the debut in this book. And then we deal with the character Mercy Kane. Yeah, who basically after this issue here, there's not many appearances left for her. Not really, no. We're going to soon wrap up her time in this book, because I've already discussed her early appearances kind of already-ish. If you're really curious, though, how more appearances to go for her? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Those 4 is 12. Basically about 13 more appearances for her, and that's it. Yeah, basically in 65, we have Spider-Man versus Kraven Hunter and Calypso. Kraven Hunter last appeared back in May 2009, just 2 years prior to this one. Same with Calypso. Next time Kraven Hunter will show up will be, well, not that. So, when would be Kraven's next appearance after this very issue? He would next appear in 3 issues of Kazar the Savage. Yes. Kraven the Hunter versus Kazar. Interesting. Never thought of that, would you? Nope. And as for the last issue in this book, it's mostly put Spider-Man versus Electro. Electro last appeared back in Marvel Fanfare number 22. Actually, that was not the correct issue. Yeah, sometimes basically I'm trying to click on something and it goes like the wrong thing. Okay, so his previous appearance was actually back in Peter Parker and Thunder's Spider-Man 42. This is his first appearance since then. And after this issue, he next appears in 2 issues of Avengers. Yeah, Avengers. Yep, that's pretty much this one in a nutshell. I think these issues are great. But sadly, put in the case of it's the last of the Marvel Masterworks, but I'm not done discussing this era because I will be back to discuss more of this stuff in our Comic Corner, but talk about it individually when I discuss volume number 6, along with the next volume for the Wolverine Epic Collection. Yep, so yeah, that's it, particular view. I'm just gonna go ahead and watch. I'm gonna go ahead and watch Eden Zero, and then do the next couple corners. Yep, I got 4 more left to go. Okay, next video. Bye.